Hey guys, it's Kenny from Slurv.com, back at it again, going over my favorite cash game plays for this week's Memorial Tournament. Before we get into that, let's recap last week's picks for the Dean and DeLuca Invitational. My four picks last week were Matt Kuchar, Danny Lee, Colt Knost, and Bryce Mulder. Kuchar did his thing again after a poor start. He was +3 after the first round, which made me a little bit nervous. But he came through on Friday as he was 6 under for the round, heading to his last hole. He actually tripled that hole, still made the cut with ease, and rebounded nicely with a 6th place finish after the week was over. Danny Lee struggled on day one as well, but rebounded nicely to secure himself a top 25 finish by week's end. Colt Knost was probably my weakest pick last week. He made the cut with no sweat, but performed really poorly on the weekend and finished in 67th place. Not great, but he still got scoring on all 4 days, and that's the minimum we're looking for in cash game plays every week. So he fulfilled that requirement. Lastly, Bryce Mulder was leading the tournament for a couple of rounds and continued his hot streak. He faded on Sunday, but was still able to put up a top 10 performance. And at 7,100, that was really a steal. So to recap, all 4 of my picks last week made the cut, with 3 golfers finishing in the top 25 and 2 finishing in the top 10. A good week, but I'm not patting myself too hard on the back just because it was a smaller field and more lineups had 5 or 6 or 6 or 6 through than in a normal full field. Speaking of smaller fields, let's move on to this week's tournament. This week, golfers head to Dublin, Ohio, to play Jack's tournament, aka the Memorial at Muirfield Village. This is another invite-only tournament with 120 golfers in the field and top 70 in ties getting through to the weekend. The field is very strong, as many of the top golfers in the world come to this tournament every year to pay homage to the Golden Bear. Let's talk about the course here just a little bit. This Jack Nicklaus design course is fairly easy to maneuver off the tee, as it gets a lot of the drives hit the fairways. If golfers do miss these wide fairways, they will have to deal with trees, water, and deep fairway bunkers. Personally, I think this tournament will be won and lost on approach shots to the green. The greens aren't that large, they're firm, and they're lightning quick. Many golfers say this course has the second fastest greens on tour, next to Augusta National. The greens are highly undulated, and there's a lot of trouble surrounding them, aka water and sand. If you'd like a more detailed course description, check out my article this week on dfsondemand.com. Now, some key stats I'm looking for this week are going to be par 4 scoring, strokes gained tee to green, par 5 scoring, green in regulations, scrambling, and strokes gained on approach shots. So now, on to the picks. First up, it's going to be Hideki Matsuyama at $10,600. He's had a real solid season so far and has been playing lights out recently on tour with 4 straight top 11 finishes, including a 7th at the Players and a 7th at the Masters. Both of these events have strong fields, just like this week's tournament. He also played well here at Muirfield Village in the past, winning a couple of years ago and finishing 5th here last year. His stats for the course are immaculate. He's inside the top 11 in par 4 scoring, strokes gained tee to green, green in regulation, and strokes gained on approach shots. He's also 22nd in par 5 scoring and 60th in scrambling. I think with his blend of course history, current form, and stats, you could pencil him in for a top 10 finish, and he has a very solid chance at another victory. His price isn't too bad either, as it doesn't prohibit you from rostering a solid team. Unlike, if you had Spieth or Rory or Day as your top guy in cash lineups, it could be tough to build a team with that much salary cap taken off the board. My next pick, it's a familiar name. He's been in my picks video for the last 3 weeks, and I really don't see a reason not to use him again. My second pick is Matt Kuchar at $9,900. He's been tearing it up lately with 4 top 10 finishes in his last 5 events, and he has great course history at Muirfield Village, making all 8 of his cuts here with 7 top 15 finishes, 5 top 10s, and a win here a few years ago. Stat-wise, he's top 26 in par 4 scoring, strokes gained tee to green, par 5 scoring, and scrambling. He's also 53rd in greens and regulation and 47th in strokes gained approaches. Starting your cash lineup with Kuchar and Hideki seems like a good plan in my book. I struggled with my third pick a little as I was deciding between Jason Dufner and Charles Schwartzel. Charles is a cut-making machine, making 13 of 14 cuts this year on both tours combined, but I went with Jason Dufner at 8,400 because Charles missed the cut at the Masters, and this course plays somewhat similar to Augusta National. Now, this doesn't mean that I think Schwartzel's a bad play. I already have him penciled in my second cash lineup. I play 2 every week, but I went with Dufner in my main lineup this week. Duff has been playing very consistent golf recently, making, I think, 10 cuts in a row. And he's also made his last 2 cuts at Muirfield Village, finishing inside the top 25 both of those times. Stat-wise, he's inside the top 25 in par 4 scoring, strokes gained tee to green, green in regulation, and strokes gained approaches. He's also 47th in par 5s. He struggles a bit trying to get it up and down from off the green, but he hits so many greens that I don't think this will be too much of a problem for him this week. My last pick, it was another tough one. I was going back and forth between Charles Howell III and Francesco Molinari. Both have been solid cut makers all year, but I went with CH3 just because he has a little bit more experience at this course and his overall stats are just a touch better. Once again, don't take this to sound like I don't like Molinari this week. I do, but he's going to be relegated to my B cash lineup. Now, CH3, he went through a mini slump early in May, but broke out of it with a solid 4th place finish a couple of weeks ago at the Byron Nelson. He has made 16 of 19 cuts so far this year and has made his last 4 cuts at Muirfield Village with 3 top 31 finishes. Stat-wise, he actually comes inside my top 10 this week. He's 9th in par 4 scoring, 42nd in strokes gained tee to green, 14th in par 5 scoring, 33rd in greens and regulation, and 23rd in scrambling. I think he makes the cut, and he has a chance at a top 30 finish this week. So, to recap, my 4 favorite cash game plays this week are going to be Hideki Matsuyama at $10,600, Matt Kuchar at $9,900, Jason Dufner at $8,400, and Charles Howell III at $7,400. If you use these 4 guys in your lineup, you'll still have a little over $13,500 left under the cap, which can still let you afford another low to mid 7K golfer and an under 7,000 value pick. Before I go, I'll go over a couple of under 7K guys I like this week for you. First, it's going to be William McGirt at $6,500. He's made a bunch of cuts in a row, has decent stats for the course, and has made 2 of 3 cuts at Muirfield Village in the past. Next is Stuart Sink at $6,400. Sink has made 17 consecutive cuts at this event. I mean, that's pretty incredible. He hasn't been playing that great this year, and he has some things going on in his personal life with his wife being sick. But I think coming back to a place where he feels comfortable with and he has had so much success at could help him this week. Lastly, a super value pick this week is going to be Johnson Wagner at $5,900. I'm a little bit partial to him. He graduated from Virginia Tech. I'm a Hokie alum as well. He's made his last 7 cuts on tour and has made all 4 of his cuts at Muirfield Village. You rarely see cut numbers like this for a golfer so cheap. So if you want to fit a couple of high-end golfers in your cash lineup, Wagner makes for a good play to get some savings. And I think he's also makes a good play in GPPs as well because, you know, stars and scrubs lineups seem like they will be the way to go this week in GPPs. And if you get Wagner in there, you'll have plenty of room for the golfers up top. All right, so that's it for this week. Make sure you check out my article on DFSOnDemand.com each week. It gives a Course description, my key stats, and my picks in all price ranges. Also, give a listen to the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, which I'm a co-host of. It is on iTunes. Also, if you want to see my main cash lineup every week, go to dfscashlineups.com and check it out for free. You can just cut and paste it and use it as is, or you can use it as a model to build your own lineup. Finally, make sure you check out all the other PGA DFS content on slurv.com. My Fantasy Golf Degenerates co-host Brad Messersmith does a GPP video for Slurv every week, and there are also expert chats with some of the best minds in golf every Tuesday and Wednesday nights. My cash game chat is on slurv.com on Wednesdays at 1 p.m., so come join me and ask all the questions you want. All right, guys, good luck this week. Take down all your cash games, and I'll see you again next week.